So this is kind of a map of some of the future development and where it's projected to be within the city and within the larger watershed. We know that it's already kind of starting in the upper part of the watershed, and then as we go, it's going to start to continue into the lower part of the watershed. We used the assumption that we were going to have 55 acres developed per year for the duration of this time period. And that led us to thinking about kind of how the land use was going to be changing. One more important thing, and I'm just going to kind of touch on this quickly, but we use the Terra Vesa neighborhood as a model for like our future development scenarios because it had a lot of good stormwater management practices in place. But what really is important is kind of the changing land use within the watershed. So we expect that as it becomes more urban within the watershed, it's going to become less agricultural. And this kind of formed the base of both of our models, was that we're going to see an increase in the amount of urban land, and we're going to see a decrease in the amount of agricultural and natural land. This is kind of all four of our scenarios plotted together, but the most likely one is that we're going to see some effects from that watershed development on our water quantity, but we're also going to see a pretty big impact from climate change on the amount of water going into the watershed. So this line right here represents the end of the development period within this watershed. So this is looking specifically at Swan Creek. So we expect that after this time period, our development is going to stop. But as you notice, this red line continues to increase. So what this red line represents is the amount of water that's going into the watershed. And that's going to continue to increase even past that development period due to climate change.
So our kind of takeaways for what you can do to help with water quality in the Obisa Wetlands watershed would be to be a water steward, to think about practices on your yard or in your neighborhood that really have a direct influence on the water going downstream. And also, as I touched on, there are a couple citizen science groups who are really active in the area. One is the Rock River Coalition. They're always looking for more volunteers to help monitor streams, as well as the Clean Lakes Alliance has really started doing more lake monitoring and other volunteering efforts in this watershed.
If an organism is exposed to that concentration for an extended period of time, it's going to have trouble surviving. Low concentration. EPA has set that bar for chronic toxicity. So how many people think it's 1 teaspoon of salt in a cup of water? 1 teaspoon of salt in a liter of water? Teaspoon in a gallon? It's actually a teaspoon in 5 gallons. So 1 teaspoon in 5 gallons of water is what freshwater organisms can't survive in over a long period of time. Seeing that chloride is rising in our water bodies. This is a graph that the Madison-Dane County Public Health Department puts together every year called the Road Salt Report. You can just Google Road Salt Report or Road Salt Report Madison and you can look through them. Every year they have great information. They kind of change what they look at each year, but they do keep a pretty good tally on what's been going on in our lakes. So we have 5 major lakes. The largest, Mendota, the kind of least urbanized around the lake, and the largest dilution, still, since we started putting road salt on, steady incline. Lake Wingra on the top is kind of our smallest, most urbanized lake, much steeper, much higher concentrations, and continuing to go up. If you're going to take care of your pavements in front of your house, the goal would be to shovel or sweep, so get rid of the snow as fast as you can. If you're going to use salt, you're going to scatter it. 1 cup here is enough to do about 60 feet of sidewalk. And the other thing is that if regular rock salt doesn't work below 15 degrees Fahrenheit. So if it's going to get really cold like it did earlier this year, you're either going to have to use a different de-icer or sand. But if you use salt, you can just keep piling it up, but it's still not going to work.